Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for tuning in to the Heat Press for Profit podcast. My name is Dave with Stalls and Transfer Express, and I am very excited to be joined here today by Kristine Shreve from the Applique Getaway. Hello, Kristine.
Hello.
And of course, here at the Heat Press for Profit podcast and Stalls, we are all about community and helping apparel decorators kind of achieve their goals, grow, and be inspired. And at the Applique Getaway, you are very aligned to kind of that same thing, aren't you?
We definitely are. I think one of the things that we really try to do is benefit the industry as a whole. And we are an inclusive show. So we deal with hobbyists, we deal with prosumers, we deal with commercial people, we deal with people who have businesses, whatever iteration you are in the crafting world or the decoration world, we're there for you. We got stuff for you to do. So it's all about, we don't believe in divides. We don't believe in division. We believe in community. So
That's awesome. And that's something kind of I think really important that you touched on right off the bat is all of those kind of different audiences being touched. And that's a huge challenge. But the way to truly unite them is community, because then people just coming in to the industry or maybe crafters just getting started or looking to take it to the next level have peers almost that they could connect with. Before we get in too much, I do want you to introduce yourselves to our audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the decorating industry, and how involved are you with the Applique Getaway?
okay. Well, my name is Kristine Shreve. I've been a part of the industry for, oh gosh, almost 20 years now. For 14 of those years, I was director of marketing for a company that is no longer in business, but it was called Enmart, and their parent company, Ensign Emblem. And then I ended up going out on my own, and then I started working with Lindsay Salcido, who is the founder of Applique Getaway, and I am now the director of marketing and outreach for Applique Getaway. In the midst of all that, I started writing for a bunch of magazines about garment decoration. I have a garment decoration group called Women in Garment Decoration. So I'm pretty tied to the industry. We still don't know how I got here. I kind of snuck in the back door because I don't do anything. I'm not a crafter. I don't run an embroidery machine. I've never done anything. I can't draw a straight line with a ruler, but somehow I got in and now you're stuck with me. So
I feel like that's very common that nobody really plans. I mean, there are a lot of decorators I talk to who were like, I love fashion and t-shirts and I wanted to get into it, but it seems like there's always that maybe non-conventional way to get into the
mhm.
industry, and that's okay. So you've been kind of advocating and helping. Educating. You said you were writing a lot for publications, and
Yep.
so you've been really on that kind of more education, inspiration kind of side of things.
Yeah, I've taught at seminars, or I've taught at trade shows rather. I've given seminars at trade shows. I can talk despite what just happened. Um, and I've taught at Applique Getaway, I've taught at DAX. Then that's really fun, and I love doing that. I've written for some magazines that are still extant, some that are gone now. Um, and I've just been really, really lucky. And I think that's kind of how I've stayed around is that I write and I'll teach, and I'm really passionate about communicating and helping people learn. And I think maybe that's what's kept me here, if that makes sense. And
And
hi,
with
Sharon, it's nice to see you.
with the communication and the education, that does play. I think that's a perfect kind of segue to talk about
Mhm,
Applique Getaway, because that is a main focus. The kind of back-to-back classes, right? So
mhm.
tell us a little bit, not just the education schedule, but like kind of why would you attend, and or what's kind of that takeaway? What's the must see Applique Getaway events or items?
Boy, boy, that's a big question. Okay, I'm going to try to keep this as concise as possible. But here's the kind of 50-cent version of it. It's about community, first of all. We have had people make lifelong friendships waiting in the line to get their badges. you see people all over the place huddled in little groups or larger groups talking about things that they love and or getting answers to questions. I personally have done consulting sitting in the lobby of the venue. Somebody asked me, can you help me with my website? Can you talk to me about marketing? Can you talk to me about social media? I'm like, sure, I'll sit down and do it with you. And I've seen other instructors doing that too. So there's that. The next platform is the classes. And I would say I also should insert here, not to toot my own horn, but I am also the vendor recruiter and the person who sets up the classes. So I'm very proud of that because I work really, really hard to make sure that we have really good classes that are informative and helpful and that we have really good instructors. I vet our instructors and our vendors. You don't get people at Applique Getaway that I'm not sure are people who are knowledgeable and are reputable.
So it is this like perfectly curated
I try.
kind of content schedule and
I
even
try.
vendor list.
Yeah, but one of my pet peeves is that you can nowadays with the internet and everything, anybody can set out their shingle as I know exactly what I'm doing. And there's a lot of information out there that isn't necessarily accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to put that out into the world. So I try to make really sure that everybody that's going to be there. And we have, I could list off all the instructors. Lisa Shaw's going to be there, Sheila Ryan, Nikki Adamkowitz, Alexis Galloway, Eve Lowry. Oh gosh, I'm going to forget a lot of them. But just tons of really smart, wonderful, amazing people who create great classes. And I know the work that goes into these classes. So the class schedule is amazing. And you can see that on the Applique Getaway website. It's really, there's a lot of different things that we cover. Embroidery, social media, marketing, rhinestones, sublimation, you name it. We've probably got a class for it because I try to make sure we cover as many areas as possible. The next thing is the shopping. Our vendors bring a ton of amazing products and they do specials and they do sales. Or sometimes they'll do free shipping if you don't want to carry it back on the plane with you. But there's again, I try to make sure we have a decent variety of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's not like you're going to go and there's, 10 vendors selling rhinestones.
Yeah, and a little bit of something for everybody then too.
That's what I try to do. Yeah.
The crafters are probably looking for something a little bit different than somebody who's
yes.
Operating an established business.
Yes, and I try to be aware of that. And there will be machine vendors there. So if you're looking for a new embroidery machine and all that stuff, oh, thank you, Lindsay. Lindsay just put up the link for the classes.
Oh, that's perfect. I saw she posted it on Facebook.
She's the founder and she serves as my producer. So I love that. Thanks, Linz.
Well, thank you, Lindsay.
And then the last thing is the social aspect. And the social aspect, we have 2 what we call after hours events, which are after shopping is closed for the day. There's one on Friday. There's one on Saturday. On Friday this year, we're having the Bling Fling, which is rhinestones. And there's going to be an Applique Getaway template. You can learn how to use rhinestones. You can learn how to build a rhinestone business if that's what you want to do. And that's being led by Eve Lowry from The Baby's Booty. And I'm really excited about that. And then on Sunday, we have Prioritizing Your Business and Saving Your Sass in Style with Nikki Adamkowitz, the Sassy Subber. And they're going to play bingo. They're going to learn a lot of stuff. There's going to be prizes. It's just really a fun event where you can come together with your peers and also get some swag. Who doesn't love that?
Everybody loves swag. I think that's why we're here as decorators too. We know, yes. We believe in the power of that merchandise. But that's so interesting because I've been to quite a lot of events. Unfortunately, haven't been able to make it to an Applique Getaway yet. I will absolutely be coming to one very soon. But that kind of like that social aspect of it, right? The networking, that community that you build. And I will love happy hour events, right? But that's usually like very unscripted. There's no events. There's no theming to it. So how important are these social events that are tied to Applique Getaway in building that community?
I think they're very important. I think one of the things that has always been foundational that Lindsay had in mind since the very beginning, and certainly I've taken it on board since I've come on with her, is community. And it's finding your tribe.
Yeah.
It's finding the people who understand the same, who understand and love the same things that you do. Because I hear it from a lot of people. Nobody understands, nobody in my family or nobody really in my friend circle gets the challenges that I face trying to do my craft or trying to run my business or
Hmm.
whatever it is. So, maybe they're sympathetic, maybe they pat you on the back and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's so," but they don't identify and they don't understand it in the same way. So
Hmm.
you come to an Applique Getaway and everybody there gets it.
Yes. Yeah.
And
And
it's
every
the
aspect of it too.
yeah, they get every aspect of it. They understand the hard parts and the fun parts and the exciting parts and why we all squeal when we see a really cool design. I mean, they get it. And the other
Absolutely.
thing too is that this is one of the most welcoming and inclusive events that I've ever had the pleasure to be a part of. And I'm not just saying that because I help run it,
Yeah.
but the first time I came in, Lindsay hired me in like April, I think. And so I took over and I started doing some vendor voices videos, which is how we do what we do to introduce the vendors to the attendees and everything. But no one had met me yet. They didn't know who I was. Most of them, I was just a new face. They had no idea. And I went to the event and I was just totally embraced. Everybody was just so kind and so nice and accepted me as one of them without any kind of which there's no reason why they wouldn't necessarily, but you don't always encounter that.
Yes. Yeah. And I will say too, like the apparel decorating community is absolutely wonderful. And I always
Mm-hmm.
like draw this analogy to, I mean, and in a way, with the global economy or national economy, however you look at it, that any decorator is technically in kind of competition with each other. Sure, there might be different
Mm-hmm.
niches or markets, but like as we look to serve, a growing audience of people who need decorated apparel, we're all kind of in competition with each other. But people are so willing to help each other out, share ideas, and kind of not just find their tribe, but
Mm-hmm.
build these tribes to like really be resources for each other. And I was in the music industry for a long time, and one of the ways that I kind of backed into the printing industry was for music merch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at least just in local communities, there's so much animosity of like, oh, that band got that gig. I'm not going to go support them. They're good, and I'm jealous of it, or whatever it may be. And I think everybody suffers because of it. But with the events like Applique Getaway, the community where you could go find your tribe, you lift yourself up, but I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee that you're going to be able to contribute, regardless of what skill level you are, that you're going to be able to contribute to somebody else then there too, right? That's got to be the
Oh
thing that you
yeah.
see.
And the thing is, whatever skill level you are, you can get something out of it. If you're, very advanced and you've been doing whatever you're doing for years, you can share your knowledge with other people. And if you're somebody who's a flat beginner and you've barely done anything, you can learn a ton. But what's really fun is that you even if you think you know everything, you're still going to learn something
Mm-hmm.
because all these instructors with all these classes teaching all these things, even if it's just a new take on how to do something you've already done, you'll still learn something. And our instructors, I cannot give you enough praise or love for our instructors. They're just, I know how I've done this from their side. I've taught, so I know how much goes into creating a good class. And these instructors give it 110%. And then they're there for everybody after the class is over. So if you've ever watched Lisa Shaw, or if you've ever watched Sheila Ryan, or if you've ever done So Sweet Sunday with Alexis Galloway, you can see them in person. You can put your face in the same room as theirs.
And then use them for a resource and maybe
Yes.
ask those questions that are maybe a little bit more. I know a lot of decorators, especially just getting started, are afraid to ask, but it's kind of like there are no bad questions. The only bad questions are the ones that you don't answer,
Well, like
or
Lindsay
don't
said in
ask.
the comments, we 100% value community over competition. We are colleagues, not competitors.
And that's the attitude that I absolutely
Yes.
adore and really champion in the apparel decorating industry. Is always, yes, I like that, colleagues, not competitors. I think that's
Well, and
that's
I
it.
think honestly, that's that's one of the things I've always liked about stalls, because like I said, I used to work as a supplier, with a supplier,
Mm-hmm.
and we always had a great relationship with stalls. We were friends and they were friends, and it was, and I think that's the kind of thing we should have. Why do we
Mm-hmm.
have to compete? There's enough to go around for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's the same thing with trade shows. We have a what I call our sister trade show. It's not really, it's owned by someone else, but is that's kind of in the same space. And everybody's like, you promote them, you talk about them. And I say, why wouldn't I?
It lifts
I mean,
everybody up,
their
and it.
show doesn't take anything away from us. We're not happening at the same time, and even if we were, who cares?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's for the benefit, and it's truly, it's like prioritizing that community and
Yeah.
learning and the education, the inspiration over everything else. It's not, and that I feel like that does get in a slippery slope sometimes, where you see that where people aren't necessarily focused on truly just helping people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that about everything you just said, the community. And then I see Lindsay in here saying, like, it feels like a huge reunion, even if you've
Yes.
never been to an event like this before, which I think is absolutely phenomenal.
Well, we call them AG lifers, people who've been to virtually almost every. Some people have been to every show. This is the 11th show. Some people have been to everyone. Some people have been to most of them, but you get the AG lifer title if you go to, two or three of them at least. And then and we have numerous, I mean, I can't even count them, how many people we have who show up every year. And the reasons they say why they keep coming back: the classes, the shopping, and the community.
Mm-hmm.
They love it. And the one thing I want to say is that one of the things that I hear a lot is, oh, this is a crafter show. There's nothing here for commercial people. Commercial people aren't going to get anything out of this show. I came from the commercial side. Trust me, I make sure that it covers everybody because I want everybody to be part of it. Now, is it going to be commercial on the same level as an Impressions Expo or a Graphics Pro Expo? Not quite to that level, but it's a different kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think there's huge value. If you run a business, come and hang out and talk to us. You'll learn stuff. There's amazing classes for people who run businesses. And it's really funny because the people who are on the crafting side say, oh, it's becoming too commercial. And the people on the commercial side go, oh, it's becoming too crafty. And I'm like,
But I think that really is an opportunity to take those two audiences, yes, and you mix them up, and then you're going to see that, there's a lot of similarities,
yes,
or that help, because like there's that maybe some specialty finishes, right?
mm-hmm,
that a commercial customer, or a commercial decorator is going to go, we're not bothering with that,
right,
where no, it's a lot easier. Look how I do it, or let me tell you about how I do it, or, oh, hey, I see that you're kind of growing, but here's a way that I do it, like from the commercial side, to be more efficient doing it. And I'm sure there's tons of information that you could learn from just the community there, just the peers. Of course, the instructors would be a great resource, and I think that's something too, that like, yes, those large commercial shows, I've been to Printing Uniteds and Impressions Expos and stuff. Are you going to make those same personal connections?
You don't, because the show's too big and they have too much to do. They can't. That's one of the things. I call it a kind of a more boutique show. I mean, it's big enough that there's things to do and things to see, but it's not so, and it's purposely built that way.
Mm-hmm.
We build it so that it's intimate, I guess is the word that I want. We want there to be community. We want people to feel like they're making connections. That's part of why the show is the way it is.
Yeah, and you mentioned intimate, like, and a little bit smaller, that's one thing that I encourage every decorator. You have to get to a show. But a lot of first-time decorators that I talk to at these shows go, oh my God, it's so overwhelming. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't make a plan. So does that kind of help break down that kind of overwhelming sensory overload of seeing so much all in one room, and then having to, oh, I want to make sure I attend this class or attend that class. And I mean, even you kind of touched on, I know I'm loading you up with a whole bunch of
No, go
answers
ahead.
here, but even
Like
like
I
then
said,
going,
I got this. We're good.
even going to like the vendor voices series that you were talking about, of
Hmm.
like introducing who you will see prior to the show,
Right.
I feel like does break down a little bit of that, I don't know, that anxiety of like, what am I about? Yeah,
Intimidation.
the intimidation of like walking into this. So it seems like that is all by design.
It is. The vendor voices, part of it is because I just thought we need to do some kind of promo. And what makes more sense than to promo the vendors, because they're spending time and effort and money to get to the show. Let's make sure they have the best show possible. But the other intent behind those was basically what you said. Let's talk about what they're teaching. Let's talk about what they're doing, so that okay, these people are selling tutus, or these people are selling, thread, or these people are selling machines, and I really want to talk to them, or whatever it is, or rhinestones, or whatever the thing is. And here's the classes they're teaching. Oh, I really need to take that class. I better go. It sounds really good. And so that's what Vendor Voices is about. And you can see those on the Applique Getaway page and in the On My Way to the Getaway group. They happen, we usually do a couple of weeks. Sometimes I think next week I'm kind of stacked because we're getting a little closer to the show, but we try to space them out so that, it's not like 5 in one day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just a way to get to know the show a little better, and to get to know the people who are going to be vending and teaching a little better, so that when you're in their class, when you go to their booth, you're not intimidated to say, hey, I have a question, or I heard you say this thing and I want to know a little more about it. And all of that is really just part of the building of the community. We're giving you some faces and some voices before the show, so
Mm-hmm.
you know what's happening. Because I think the assumption that's sometimes made is that if you do a show, everybody already knows who you are because you're big enough to do the show, so to speak. And that's not always true.
It is not.
I mean, you can't, there is no physical way to be up on what everybody's doing and who everybody is. So this way, if you're planning to come to the show, if you're interested in coming to the show, here's some information to tell you a little more about why you should come to the show. And plus they're just fun. And if you watch them, you get to see, I have an intro bumper and I dance to the little music on the intro bumper every time. And then I usually start the show laughing like a goon because I was dancing. So
And that's fun. That's fun too, and that's what I've heard from Applique Getaway. Not only just seeing I think the last time the Transfer Express team came back with, it was multiple boxes of
yeah.
like toddler and youth apparel from, I think, a more boutique vendor. I don't recall exactly which one, but it is
Probably
uh,
love that cotton.
everybody. Yeah, everybody comes back with smiles on their face,
Mhm.
recharged, even just being a vendor there.
Yeah, the vendors that's another blessing we have too, is that a lot of the vendors are AG lifers. They come back every year. And my challenge is always, how do I find new people to mix in with the current people and, make a good show floor? And I have to, not to toot my own horn, but I really think I did a nice job this year. So,
Toot away. This is the platform for it.
so
I'll toot your horn with you.
thank you. But I mean, that's part of my job, is to curate the best experience for everybody.
Hmm.
That's what I want to do. And so Lindsay and I work on that really hard to make sure that everybody has a really good experience. And I'm fully aware that there's a legacy here. This is 11 years of a show. This is
Hmm.
11 years of people loving this thing.
Absolutely.
So, there's something about it. So,
Yeah.
and I want
Some.
to talk for a minute, because one of the things that we were talking about earlier that I want to circle back to a little bit is, I mean, Stalls is teaching a class at this show, the
Hmm.
easiest way to print apparel. And one of the things that I really love about this class is the easiest way to print apparel doesn't have to be business.
Hmm.
You could, if you want to do, a side gig, or if you want to make stuff for your grandkids or whatever it is, here's the easiest way to print apparel, and you don't have to have a huge I mean, I have to say I'm a huge fan of transfers in general, and I just wrote a piece for Apparelist about transfers, so I'm really big on transfers right now because I think they work in a lot of ways. But I mean, this is a class that you can take and get something out of it, regardless of why you're taking it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a number of classes like that.
I was
So
going to say, it sounds like the whole list of classes as I was scrolling through them before,
yeah.
where they are truly, I mean, inspirational, educational, and kind of how-tos of that's accessible to anybody.
Well, and the one thing that I do want to spotlight this because I think it's really a nice feature is we added last year seminar classes on Thursday, which we had never done before. We tried it for the first time last year. Those are 2 to 2.5 hour classes. They're longer form, deeper dives, huge amounts of information. And those are so worth money. I mean, the ones we have this year, and I wish I could remember off the top of my head right now. Well, sublimation meets embroidery, which is printing and stitching your vision. That's one. We've got a rhinestone class from Eve Lowry. We've got an amazing class from Sheila Ryan. Lisa Shaw's teaching a couple of them. But they're more deep dive, long form, and they were a huge hit last year because you get to really dive into a subject and you walk away from it feeling like you had a master class in whatever that subject was. So that's another thing I have to say. I'm really proud of those, and there aren't a lot of shows doing those kind of classes. So it makes me feel really good that we're really, we're taking our dedication to education to like the maximum level we can take it.
Oh, yeah. And that longer, I am a big fan of longer kind of form content, especially when it involves any like hands-on or kind of that like workshop, like
Yes.
let's show you and then let's put it into practice or like
And
actually do.
That's part of the design of these longer form classes too, is that you can do hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
You can do, in an hour or an hour and a half or an hour 15, an hour and a half, which is what our normal classes are. It's kind of hard to do hands-on sometimes because you don't really have enough time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
with a longer form class, you can do that. And that's one of the reasons that we started those, because we had people asking, can we do longer form? So
and
it's worked out.
If the audience is there to learn, and I will say that kind of hands-on education, I've done a lot of education sessions through Stalls and Transfer Express, and my favorite, and I mean, I love presenting and I love the energy of, being in front of a room of people and helping people out truly at the end of the day. But nothing is like, I don't feel like I have any other large takeaways than the conversations that I have when we're at the press being hands-on. The questions that decorators are asking, regardless of their skill level, they're always phenomenal. Even some insights of like, I saw you do it this way, but I actually do it this way.
Yes.
And then we have a great conversation about it. And there's even one I know specifically. I was in Atlantic City and I was talking about the t-shirt that I was printing on at the time. And afterward, we're doing kind of a hands-on session and everybody's lined up. And this one decorator asked me like, well, why do you use that one? Because I use this one that's kind of like the same manufacturer. It's just less, there's more colorways available in it. And it's like the same price. And now that is like my favorite t-shirt that I wear. So like even like I learned so much even just as an educator at these events from the community too. So it's absolutely phenomenal. And I know we're kind of coming up on time here, but we're going to blow right past it if our audience is hanging out with us out there on social media and YouTube and LinkedIn. I did want to kind of get you, because we talked a lot about the curation that you put in and lowering that intimidation, right?
Yes.
For somebody attending first time. Do you have any tips for somebody attending their first trade show or their first Applique Getaway?
Oh boy, do I. Well, again, subject I've written on and talked about in the past, but first thing, bring a notepad and a pen, because you think you're going to remember everything. You're not. You totally won't, because you're going to get so much information. And even even things like you'll meet somebody and you have a notepad where you can stick business cards in it so everything stays together, because you'll meet somebody and you'll need to write down their email or you'll need to write down their phone number or whatever it is, because you're going to connect. Because that's a huge, I mean, we've already talked about the community, but the exchange of business cards and information so people can connect later, that happens so much. It's huge.
Yeah, and it's so quick, and that is something that I feel like is really overlooked. I'm so glad you mentioned that because it's
Yeah.
so easy. If you're not prepared, you get handed a business card, and maybe in the moment you're kind of like focused on what they're talking about, and you just shove it in a back pocket,
Yeah.
and then you find it crumpled up in the washer or dryer. Weeks like, no, I wanted to contact them.
Well, or if you have a notepad and pen with you, you can take notes if you get somebody's business card so you remember why you got it, which
Mm-hmm.
I've done that before, where I collected some business cards and then I go back and I'm like, what did I want to talk to this person about? Because you can have 10, 20 discussions in the course of a day, depending on who you are and what you're doing. So that's one. Second thing, the show is in Texas in June. Wear layers. Because it's hot outside and it's going to be cool in the venue. So, and I am not a hot weather girl. So, Texas in June is challenging for me, but it's totally worth it every time I go. So,
The show is air conditioned.
yes. Oh, the show is totally air conditioned. We're in a gorgeous venue. We're at the Westin DFW Airport, and it's a gorgeous venue. We were there for the first time last year. Everything is on the same level. Everything is in one hotel. There's a restaurant there. There's a bar there. You can come down the elevator in the morning. You can walk right to your classes. You can go right to the shopping floor. You can hang out in the lobby and talk. There's lots of little conversation nooks. I don't know what this is, but I apparently needed to just do some hand motions. But it really is nice because some of the shows, the venue is not necessarily where people stay.
Mm-hmm.
And we designed it so that everything is in one place. You don't have to leave the hotel the whole time the show's going on if you don't want to.
Yeah, and
So,
that kind of almost I would feel adds to that community aspect then too,
oh,
because
it
then people
does.
you'll see at the show or even like vendors, you'll interact with outside of the show, and if you have any questions that pop up, like, hey, can I grab you? Or like, let's just, I want to learn more about you attend a class, and I
Yeah.
want to learn a little bit more about how you got to the experience and how you gained that because I thought you were incredibly insightful or whatever it might be, and you get that opportunity instead of just like here, there, you never see him again.
Oh, we laugh because, and a couple of the vendor voices that I've done already, I've done with people who've been there before. And we were laughing yesterday about the fact that, yeah, there's late night bull sessions, I guess, or, chat sessions where people are just sitting around and maybe they're having a drink or maybe they're not, but they're sitting around and talking about what they do and what they learned and what they love. And sometimes those go rather late. And then the next morning, people are a little tired.
So your first adding to the list of like first time event prep coffee.
Coffee's good. Coffee's definitely good. Um, I think, like I said, layers, you should probably bring, I call them wheelie bins, the little rolling carts. You can bring a suitcase, but that's kind of big.
Mm-hmm.
You'll at least want a tote bag, probably something that you can put stuff in because you're
All
going
that
to want to buy
swag.
stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, and the
There's so
purchases.
many vendors there and they have great prices and great products. And that's another thing that I want to mention too. When you have your notebook and pen, make sure that you're talking to the vendors about how to get the most out of the products you're buying, because the vendors are the people who know those products and they're right there in front of you. So when you make a purchase, talk to them about it, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the beauty of trade shows. And I think that's one of the things people who don't go to trade shows miss is that, yeah, Lindsay says if you fly in, bring an empty suitcase to take your purchases back. Yes, that's if you fly in, do that. Just be aware that you're going to have probably an overweight allowance cost on your flight back. But that's how it
Totally
goes.
worth it. Totally worth it.
It's totally worth it. So wheelie bin, notebook and pen, dress in layers, and I think the last thing is don't be intimidated. If you come by yourself, so bring your confidence, maybe is what I want to say. If you come by yourself, if this is your first show, if you're generally shy, don't feel intimidated by the fact that you're going to be in a venue where maybe you don't know anybody, where maybe you're new. We're a good group. We're friendly, we're open. I mean, like I said, you'll meet somebody in the registration line getting your badge. I've had numerous people tell me I made lifelong friends waiting to get my badge. So, and the staff is great, our volunteers are great. We're open. You can come and talk to us anytime. So don't feel like you're on your own. You're part of a community.
All you have to do is just show up.
All you have to do is just show up. So why would you not?
Yep. For this year, is there anything specific that kind of is standing out as like a can't miss highlight?
I would say I am really, really proud of the after hours events this year. This is the first year we have two, which makes me really excited. And both of these instructors are instructors that I really, really wanted to have. And Eve Lowry on Friday and Nikki Demkowitz on Saturday. And I'm really, really pleased and excited that they're going to be with us. I have seen, for the Friday night event, I have seen Bling Flings that Eve has done in other places. They're amazing events. They're so exciting. And you get a kit, you get transfers, you get to learn how to do this amazing craft and art. And you get to make some stuff that's shiny and cool. And who would not want to do that? Plus, Eve is just a hoot. She's so fun. I can't believe I said hoot. I sound like I'm 90.
No, I use that all the time. I use rad, and I like the words that I like. There's no judgment here at all.
Well, yeah, I like words too. And then on Saturday, Nikki is just a bundle of nature, a bundle of a force of nature, a bundle of fun, a force of nature. I combined my two metaphors there. But she just is so caring and so funny and so knowledgeable. And I know how hard she's been working on this event because she's taking over the past 2 years, at least. Lisa Shaw did this event. And so Nikki is inheriting the mantle, so to speak. And I know how hard she's working and how hard she's working to get amazing prizes and to come up with a really fun theme for the whole thing. So I think, not that all of it isn't great, but those two parties, if you miss those, you're going to regret it. That's all I got to say.
Mm-hmm. The can't miss moments.
Yeah, the FOMO is real, people.
I'm getting FOMO not even being able to attend this event right now. So before we wrap up, I did want to ask, just kind of, and it might be very similar after hours events, your favorite Applique Getaway moment in the past, all time, that kind of sticks out with you as we move forward into the future.
Oh, you're asking me to pick one?
How many do you got?
Well, they're all, I mean, everything is my favorite, honestly. But I think one of the nicest things that I saw was okay, here's what I'm going to go with. One of the things that's been most amazing to me is we have been able to give some people the opportunity to teach who maybe hadn't had that opportunity before, either because they didn't know how to do it or they weren't necessarily comfortable, with one of the bigger shows maybe. And watching those people blossom and grow and make their careers bigger and their profiles bigger, and knowing that we had a little part in that, makes me really, really happy. And I think that's also what I'll say for the attendees. The attendees that are lifers that maybe came to their first one and were so nervous, and then they came to their second one and they'd started expanding their business or whatever they did a little bit, and then they came to their third one, and seeing some of the people who are attendees transition now to teachers or vendors is,
so you see this site, the full cycle,
yes,
and you see the impact.
and knowing that AG had a small part in that, you know, and I'm not taking credit for anything by any means, but I'm just saying we did something that helped that transition happen, and that just makes me so proud. And so I could almost cry, honestly, because it just, that's what it's about in the end. We want to give you an event that's going to be impactful on your life. I'm not going to say life changing because that feels a little like, but it's going to make an impact. You're going to walk away with something.
And that's I think the best. Number one, I love that answer. Better than like, oh yeah, this party 2 years ago, the after party
the parties
was phenomenal.
Awesome.
But seeing the difference that the event has on people, whether they be, you know, attendees or educators, or I feel like even then it's exponential, and it goes out in a wave, because then it's that single individual person that could be inspiring or kind of activating a countless number of people, especially year after year after year. And that is, I don't think it gets better than that. It truly doesn't. And it doesn't, you're not there. And that's, I hear it from a lot of people who go, like, even just decorators I talk to who are like, oh, I went to the show the other week. Like, oh, how was it? They're like, I don't know if I go back. Like, I didn't see anything new. And it's like, if you go just looking to find a new product and there are no new products, there's not new products. But if you come with an open mind, the hunger or thirst for education or connection, and you just want to kind of nerd out about a process, because I know, you mentioned it earlier, like there's only so much that our families could take. I've been talking about t-shirts with my wife for 14 years, although now she does start kind of tugging, and she'll walk through Target and tug on the prints of shirts, and has started apparel decorating with her students in middle school. So like, it only took me 12 years to convince her, but we are there now and activated, and just being able to connect with people like that at these events, and then come back year after year after year. But before we wrap up today, tell us how you could register and when Applique Getaway is, because there still is time to register and make some travel plans to attend to it.
Applique Getaway is June 27th through 30th. We are at the Westin DFW Airport in Irving, Texas. You can go to www.appliquegetaway.com to register and pick all your classes and set up for the after hours events and all that stuff. And you definitely should, because it's totally worth. I mean, and another thing I will say, compared to the cost of going to most of the shows, this show is very reasonable.
That's important.
You can do a VIP registration, which is basically access to all the classes and the shopping floor and all the goodies that are out there and available. And it's very, very reasonable. I mean, compared to what I know it costs to go to some of the other shows. So, spend. Oh, and Lindsay just pointed out there is a free option. If you just want to shop and add your classes a la carte, you can do that too. And she also put up the link to register. So Lindsay,
let me put this one up
today. Thank you.
For anybody who's not on Facebook here, Lindsay's sharing these links over on the Facebook page. But so I'll leave it up for a little bit if you want to type that one in or take a note of it. Or of course, Applique Getaway. .com, I'm sure, has that link on.
If you go there, there's a menu item that says register now, and you can just do that. But seriously, I mean, one of the things that the founding principle of this show, when Lindsay first started it, was to give people who loved the decoration world a place to come. That was the founding principle. And, kudos to her that she started it and made it work and has kept it going for 11 years. Because honestly, I did not know how hard it is to build a show until I started this end of it. And then I was like, okay, there's a lot more that goes into this than I never really had thought about it.
Especially the care into curating the vendors, the classes. And then I'm sure there's a sense of pressure of wanting to do right to the community too, right?
I mean, you want to make it, You want people to walk away from it going, this was totally worth it. You don't
Hmm.
want that response of, I went and I don't know if I'd go again. There wasn't really anything, it wasn't really anything, which is why we try to keep innovating. That's why we
Hmm.
added the seminars last year. That's why we're doing 2 after hours instead of 1 this year, because we want to try new things to see, and not all of it lands. I mean, a couple of years ago, we tried recording some classes. That didn't go so well. Well, it's just honestly, if you're going to do that, the amount of money you have to spend to do it well means that you have to charge so much to
Hmm.
let people see the classes that it's just not, it isn't tenable, it isn't
Hmm.
feasible. So, but we tried it. It didn't work out the way we'd hoped, and we moved on.
But yeah, you innovate, you learn. I always say there are no mistakes if you learn from it,
Right.
right? Because then it's just a learning opportunity. But I want to thank you so much for hanging out
Thank
here,
you.
Kristine. I'm sure we could take all afternoon, and
Oh,
maybe we'll have you
I
back
will
on.
talk forever about this show.
But we'll have you back after the Applique Getaway, and maybe as we start to gear up and plan then for the next year then too.
There you go.
So for everybody, appliquegetaway.com to learn
Hmm.
more. Of course, Stalls and Transfer Express will be there if you want to
Yes.
come hang out. And then, of course, I think we do have like a take-home kit that we will have on site that I did film a little application video for, which
Oh,
was
awesome.
super fun. And yeah, so as part of that kit, just kind of like a guided introduction, probably very similar to like what the class would be, but like a take home version of just a little easy guided pressing. And I know I had a blast filming the video for it and input a whole bunch of my tips over the years. I know you had even kind of mentioned like how involved with heat transfers you have been lately and writing
Hmm.
about them. I know that for me, the first time that I pulled a screen printed heat transfer, I thought my entire life was a lie. I had been screen printing for 10 years, learned how to screen print on my kitchen table, and then the first pull, like, wait, I've been doing it the hard way. So it definitely is
Oh, don't
something
get me
to
started on
experience.
transfers. We'd be here for another hour.
We could fill all afternoon. Kristine, we're going to have you back on. I want to thank you so much for hanging
Thank
out here
you.
on the Heat Press for Profit podcast. We do hope to see you again next time here. We do lives every single Friday at noon Eastern time. And of course, here at Stalls, we always aim for podcasts and education like this, just like the Applique Getaway, to inspire new ideas, help decorators learn, connect, and reach their own success, whatever it looks like for each individual. But until next time, I am Dave. Kristine, thank you so much
Thank
again,
you.
and we will see you soon. Happy pressing.